Round like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind.
This segment is, of course, brought to you by Debonaire Cigars. Visit StogieGeeks.com/Debonaire for a list of retailers who carry Debonaire. Buy some today and get a little more Debonaire. Welcome back, everyone. This is, of course, our Debonaire Ideal segment for this evening. Will and I are going to talk about proper ventilation because it's important to be properly ventilated. Right, Will? You there, Will?
Nope, he's gone.
Oh, Will's gone. I'm talking to myself, apparently. That's perfectly fine. I find I have to smoke in a properly ventilated space. And some people are like, well, they smoke cigars. This must get really smoky. I'm like, no. Cigar smokers don't like to be in a crowded space where you can't see the person sitting next to you. In fact, we've talked about this topic when we talk about cigar events and how when you go to a cigar event and there's a lot of people who light up cigars all at once, if it gets too smoky, cigar smokers actually complain. The smoke is really very obnoxious when it gets up to a certain level, which is why it's very debonair to have that proper ventilation in the space that you're smoking and to pay attention to that when you're smoking in various places. Now, of course, outside, you typically don't have this problem. Even if it's not a windy day, typically ventilation, never a problem. Outdoors, it's always pretty safe. However, when we go to like the Studio B that we used to record the show in, very small space, 4, sometimes 5 people smoking at once, ventilation is very important. The key to ventilation that I think a lot of people miss is you can't just put a fan on and open a window and expect proper ventilation. That is just really going to swirl the smoke around. And if the wind is blowing into the space, it's just going to circulate the smoke, and it's still going to be smoky. And the thing to do is to emulate what a real ventilation system does. The popular larger cigar lounges like Havana Club next door have systems that replace the air inside of the facility every 3 to 5 minutes. So we kind of emulate that in our various studios and spaces that we smoke in by, if you're going to open up a window, make sure that there's a fan inside of it that's sent to suck the air out. So always have one source, if you will, of ventilation where there's an open window and it's taking air out. And it not only is taking air out, but it's taking smoke out as well. And you can't just try and take all the smoke out because as you're producing more smoke, obviously it's still going to be smoky. It can only keep up so much. So what you want to do is have another source that's introducing fresh air. So as fresh air comes in, that air is all getting sucked out as well as your smoke. So introducing fresh air is extremely important. So a lot of times we have, fans here in the front. We crack the door. We blow fresh air in, get a ventilation fan out the back to suck out all the smoky air. And that's really, you can implement that in a lot of different smoking environments. And some places that have gotten it wrong, like some events, don't take into account when, there's 50 people in a room and you're all smoking cigars, how difficult it is to introduce fresh air to that environment and to take out the smoky air. Is Will back? Oh, Will's back. Good.
Yep, I'm back. And I only missed like a minute, or
Okay.
a minute, but there's another wild card. And the other wild card that I've learned is ceiling height. When you're in a lounge or in an area where the ceiling's higher, that's more effort to pull that smoke, especially that's where, if the vents, that's where the smoke's going up, and that's where you have it's going to take a lot more power to pull that up. And I've seen it when you go from an 8 to 9 foot ceiling, what a difference that could make. Where if you try to use the same ventilation system on an 8-foot ceiling versus a 9-foot ceiling, that extra foot's going to be a big difference, and it's more work. And I've seen a lot of shops, in particular one lounge I used to go to, they had a 9-foot ceiling, and that smoke was not getting pulled up. You put 5 people in the room, it looked like a very good smoke eater, but because of that higher ceiling,
Oh, it just
uh,
never got there.
it never got there. It would kind of linger and then kind of in there. So that's another thing, and where events are, it's something I think that a lot of people aren't cognizant of sometimes.
Yeah, and your car is the same thing, right? You crack the driver's side window in the rear passenger window, and you're essentially creating that same thing: fresh air coming in, smoky air going out.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, we talked about the car. The sunroof
Mm.
is an enormous plus if you're a cigar smoker. Your car will not smell as much with that sunroof open. It's really going to pull it out, so you'll be surprised more so than the side windows.
Yep, absolutely. And important to be properly ventilated, especially if there's other people around that aren't smoking too.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and there's going to be a point where you have to there's going to be, especially if there's an event, there's got to be some fumigation that's going to have to happen afterwards. I mean, it's just no way around it. You'll know how good here's how I judge how good ventilation is. When you get home and your wife smells your clothes.
Yep, absolutely.
There is no better litmus test than that. And I've been to some, like, I know when I went to Havana Cigar Club, and I think that's, in my opinion, Todd's got the
Top
best.
notch. Yeah.
It is top notch. I remember I went back to, I drove to Connecticut, I think, one night after that on the way back. And normally I'll smell this, I'll even smell the smoke when I get into a non-smoking room for my clothes. I didn't smell it that night.
Mm,
And that was just a testament to the system he's got in there.
absolutely. Cool. Anything else on ventilation, Will?
You know, the other thing is, I think that a lot of times you'll struggle when it's temperature, because sometimes that's when you're going to have to air things out. So it becomes a challenge in the extremes, whether it's mostly I find it when it's especially hot, when it's cold, and you kind of have to you have to ventilate, and you have to open the doors or the windows, and then that cold air gets in. It's obviously going to be more of a challenge because now your room's going to get cold real fast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is tougher to ventilate. So how do you do it in your smoking area in your garage, Will?
Well, I don't have a smoke heater in my garage. When it's one person, it works pretty well. What I do is after I'm smoking, I have a 3-car garage. So I have 2 bays. I open it up, and usually I just air it out. I have HVAC in here, which helps, so I don't have to worry about the temperature things. But there is kind of this air out I have to do because there is some smoke that still lingers here. I do have some vents that it goes up into. My air conditioner filters get dirty very fast.
I was going to say, you got to make sure you change your air conditioner filters often.
I mean, they say 3 months. I probably have to do
every
it
month.
More like 5 to 6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. I do mine every month here in the studio for sure.
Yeah, and I'm shocked, especially when I'm running the units here. It will pull it up a little bit. It's not going to be a smoke heater, but it will pull it up a little.
Yep. Absolutely. Awesome. Make sure you check out Debonaire Cigars. They're big in Texas as well. Phil was here in studio last week. So make sure you look for Debonaire at your local retailer. So visit stogiegeeks.com/Debonaire for full list of retailers. And with that, we're going to take another short break, come back, and talk about our Stogies of the Week. So stay tuned. Don't want to miss it.